Hello, good morning. Welcome to our Sunday service here at White River Buddhist Temple. This morning we will be chanting Jusei on page 23.
Can I have everyone please put your hands together in Gasho or bow your head in reverence as we say Namo Amida Butsu, I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namo. Agon Chosenga Can I have us all once more, please put our hands together, Gasho, or bow your head in reverence as we say once more, Nam Myoho Butsu, I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Nam Myoho Butsu, 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 Nam Myoho Butsu.
Will everyone please rise, if you are able, for the reading of the three treasures on page 3. The three treasures. Born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriad of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Next, we will have our Gatha, morning Gatha, on page 133. Please be seated. We will now have our message from Reverend Cindy.
Can I have us all please put our hands together in Gasho or bow our head in contemplation as I read these words by Shinan Shoni. Avalokiteshvara and Mahasamapapta together illumine the world with the light of compassion, never resting even for a moment from bringing to nirvana those with mature conditions. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Well, hello everyone. I am going to do something that I haven't done in a long while, and hopefully this works. Test, 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 and it works. And again, my New Year's resolution was to come down and talk to you all when it's not a special service. And I know I've broken that already this month, but I hope to continue it, so if that's okay with you. So what I wanted to talk about today was a continuation of what I talked about 2 weeks ago, which I know was kind of a long time ago because last week was Father's Day, important to talk about Father's Day. But today, as a continuation of the 2 weeks prior, I would like to continue our talk about Pride Month, about why it is important for us to continue to talk about Pride Month, especially during Pride Month. This is the very last day or weekend of Pride Month, and I believe today in Seattle, which unfortunately is a reason why we couldn't be in Seattle's Pride Parade today, is that it's happening right now, so it's also very important for us to talk about it, especially today. And as hopefully a summary, if this is not what you heard 2 weeks ago, I apologize, but hopefully I was able to communicate that Amida Buddha's infinite wisdom and compassion embraces us as we are, no matter what gender identity we identify as or sexual identity. And I hopefully helped this by talking a little bit about Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, which is one of the bodhisattvas that are always with Amida Buddha. And it, in a way, is a manifestation of Amida Buddha's compassionate side. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva is the bodhisattva of compassion. And in doing that, hopefully, I was able to get across that Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, also known as Kannon Bosatsu in Japanese, or Guanyin, yes, thank you so much. I just flew out for a little while. And then the Bodhisattva came back. Guanyin Bodhisattva from Chinese Buddhism. And this Bodhisattva, especially in Chinese Buddhism, takes the form of a woman, right? Even though in Buddhist lore, right, someone who eventually becomes a Buddha, which all bodhisattvas are on the road to, were technically kings at one time in their life. And thus, why it is important that Kannon Bosatsu, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Guanyin, usually takes on a form of a woman, right? It is really, really important to realize this because it shows us that it does not matter your sexual or gender identity to be born in, to become a Buddha. And thus, I wanted to continue this by taking this more from a Jodo Shinshu perspective, more of a, talking a little bit about Jodo Shinshu lore, I guess you could say, in a way. Because Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva comes up in a couple of stories within Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, which is our sect of Buddhism. And this usually has to do with our founder of Jodo Shinshu, Shinran Shonin, who is, unfortunately for some people, he's right behind the podium here, but he's this picture on this side of Amida Buddha. And so it goes with this particular story. And of course, this story could be kind of told in two different ways, depending on the person you ask. But as we all know, Shinran Shonin was once studying on Mount Hiei, which is where the head of Tendai Buddhism is. So for 20 years of his life, he was studying Tendai Buddhism. But at the age of 29, he realizes that this path is not for him. Tendai Buddhism is not his path, because no matter how much practice he did, he couldn't become enlightened. Because, right, as a Buddhist, you would like to become enlightened. And especially for a monk, your goal is to become enlightened. And so he realized that I'm not becoming enlightened. And so he left Tendai Buddhism. And of course, he heard of this teacher called Honen Shonin. But on his journey down from Mount Hiei, he stopped at this temple called Rokkakudo. Rokkakudo. If you ever go to Kyoto, Japan, Rokkakudo is right in the middle of the city. It's right next to a Starbucks. So please go there. It's really, it's a very interesting place because it's called Rokkakudo because Roku means 6, Kaku means sided. So it's a 6-sided temple. And one of the main images there is of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. And so when Shinran Shonin reaches Rokkakudo, he decides to, because he was a Tendai priest, he decides to do a 100-day meditation. So he's there meditating for about 100 days. And some of the stories go that in the middle of this meditation, he has one particular dream, I don't know what else you would call it, of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. And Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva tells Shinran Shonin that they will help Shinran Shonin. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva says, I will help you, Shinran Shonin, whose name wasn't Shinran Shonin at that time, honestly. But I will help you, and I will take a form of a woman that you will marry. So that's one dream he had. Apparently, there's also another story in regarding to this 100-day meditation. Another story goes that Shinran Shonin is meditating, and on the 95th day, he has a vision of who in Japanese history is Prince Shotoku. Prince Shotoku was one of the royal lineage, and he was the one who helped spread Buddhism. The main prominent person who helped spread Buddhism in Japan. And so if you go to other Jodo Shinshu temples, Prince Shotoku tends to be on the far side next to Shinran Shonin. We don't have Prince Shotoku here, which is totally fine. We have Eshini Kakushini, who are also very important to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. But going back to the story, Shinran Shonin has this vision of Prince Shotoku and says, you will meet a great teacher. His name is Honen Shonin. Go to him. And thus, Shinran Shonin interprets this vision as being Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara telling him to go to Honen Shonin and learn from Honen Shonin, the Nembutsu path. That is one reason why Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva is so important to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. Another story, one last story about Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva is written in Eshini's letters. Eshini, who is one of the women on that side, was the wife of Shinran Shonin, the one that Shinran Shonin envisioned in his dreams that would come to him in the form of a woman and he would marry. So Shinran Shonin thought every single time when he was married with Eshini that she was the embodiment of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. But in Eshini's letters, and she never told Shinran Shonin this, was that she had a dream. She had a dream herself, and that dream included Honen Shonin and Shinran Shonin. And in this vision, both come to her and tell her, you will meet these two people and you will learn a lot from them. And so she interprets this vision as Honen Shonin, being Mahasamapapta Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva wisdom that is also the other attendant of Amida Buddha, opposite of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. So she interprets Honen Shonin as Mahasamapapta Bodhisattva. But she interprets Shinan Shonin in this vision as Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. So this means that the relationship between Eshini and Shinan Shonin is that they saw each other as a manifestation of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Kannon Bosatsu, Guan Yin. And that's why it's so important in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism that we also look towards the Bodhisattvas as well as the Amida Buddha, because they show us that anyone can come at the form of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, no matter their gender or sexual identity. That's why it is so, so important that we realize this. And we are able, in that way, to see every single person as a bodhisattva, of compassion, because that is how Shinan Shonin and Eshini not only thought of each other, but I am pretty sure thought about many, many people around them. That is the reason why we should, especially during Pride Month, realize this singular fact, that as a possible, well, in my opinion, everyone here is a manifestation of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. But we bring this also to our everyday life so that we can see those people, every single person, as a being that should be cherished. That is why, for Pride Month, I decided to talk about this with you all today, to remind us all the reason why we should treat people with respect and compassion. And this is all due to the infinite wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha being able to transform, again, as a Buddha and as a Bodhisattva. They have no form, but at the same time, form. Thus, they're able to make any person a Bodhisattva of compassion. In gratitude, we look towards Amida Buddha and the Bodhisattvas, especially during this month. And remember the infinite wisdom and compassion which shines on all of us every single moment of our lives. So in conclusion, can I have us put our hands together in Gasho as we bow our head in reverence to Amida Buddha as well as the Bodhisattvas and say, Namo Amida Butsu, I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Reverend Cindy, for your Dharma message today. Please rise, if you're able, for the Gatha Ondoku-san 2 on page 152, and remain standing for the Daily Creed of Jodo Shinshu on page 8. the daily creed of Jodo Shinshu. Realizing enlightenment is assured, and reciting the Nembutsu, I shall live my life cheerfully and positively. Understanding the oneness of life and cultivating self-reflection, I shall diligently attend to my life's tasks in gratitude. Recognizing the Dharma path, I shall help spread the teachings of the Buddha. Appreciating the Buddha Dharma, I shall respect and help others working for the good of society. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please be seated. Do we have any first-time guests today? Okay. Any announcements?
After being closed during years of COVID, the library is finally reopening. It's next week. I've had some helpers, including Dave Wiebel. And Dave, I don't know your last name. Hoskins, that's right. And so they've been helping. We've got things pretty well shelved. Not everything's perfect, but it's better. It's a big difference. And we had multiple copies of some books. So we kept 2 copies of each book, and there are going to be many books that are for you to take home. You can look through them next week. We'll have a display. They'll be available for 2 weeks. So you could take any books you want, and if you want to give a donation, you can. So I hope you can plan for that. Thanks, and take care.
Our ukulele and singers group are going to perform for our Obon service. And we would like to be all in a uniform. Some of us have our coats, our blue coats. And what I was asking, if you have one and you would be willing to let somebody borrow it, we have new members, and some of them need to borrow a jacket. So if you have one, would you please be willing to let us borrow it? We will take really good care of it. I'll be responsible, I promise. And we'd really appreciate that. If you could let me know you have one available, and then maybe like bring it next week so that we can get them all in order. Thank you.
All right, so will everyone please join me in Gasho for the closing words? My life is not only my life, but the life of others' sacrifices, kindness, thoughtfulness, and patience. I am grateful. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please come up to Oshoko if you have not already, and thank you for attending today's service.